G'day YouTube, take two. This is the second time I've recorded this. I was on photo mode, so great. It was 4 minutes of talking nothing for no point at all. So this is one side of the bath enclosure I've sort of half knocked up, so I'm just showing you how to mark out a frame section. Now this is a frame section that is based around Australian standards, so pretty much the same no matter where you are in the world. These standards are based on engineering principles of like transferring load from the top of the wall to the bottom. So you can see how that's going to work. The two top plates at the top transfers load down to the bottom plate, which then goes onto the floor, so you can have quite a lot of weight on top there. You'll be able to stand on that when it's all done. Now I'll just show you quickly how to mark this out. Now this is Australian standards. Feet and inches, you'll have to work that out yourself. I don't know what that is, but in Australia it's a 450 minimum stud spacing for a load bearing wall. So, and there are exceptions to that, but if you stick to 450 you'll be right, you know. Now what I've done here is I've actually gone 420 because I worked it out, and 420 was I can't remember why I did it 420 there. So I just spaced them out evenly, so they're actually 420. And the ends you can see here, they're slightly different because that's where it screws onto the next piece of wall. So that's how two pieces of wall join together. Now a lot of guys will just use a few blocks. If you're talking a wall frame, they might use a block at the bottom, block in the middle, block at the top, and just screw through the block, and then the next wall section will basically just go there, screwed to that, and that's how that works. So the reason for the double top plate, you can use a single top plate. Generally speaking, if you're using a single top plate, all your load has to pretty much land very close to where this stud is. So it can't be out here, it has to be pretty much there, because the load has to transfer directly down there to the bottom plate and the floor. So the reason you use a double top plate is then you can have it anywhere. And I've just used a double top plate because I just want it to be extra solid, and that's just what I'm going to do. So it only costs maybe $10 to do it, maybe 15 to do the extra bit. It's just easier. And what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to chisel out about a 5mm, I haven't worked it out, it's probably about a 5mm, I'll just cut it out, channel, and then the bath will actually sit in there. So the edge of the bath will actually go over there, and all the load will be on there, so you should be able to stand on that when I'm finished. Now I'm just using a 15 gauge brad nailer, which is Ryobi's brad nailer. Now it's does a reasonably good job. These nails are not show the brad nail, so I'll put a link to that in the description box. Just an angled finish nailer, so 15 gauge. It's not for framing, it's for finishing, but with this I understand how the load's working. The load's all going to the floor, so there's not going to be much movement at all that way, either that way, that way. So I'm just using that to tack together. I'll probably screw the outside one as well, just to give it a bit extra strength if I end up hammering it, or I may countersink and screw the cement sheets to it. I haven't worked that out yet. So there'll be another timber here, so that's all flush, and then there'll be a cement sheet straight across there, and then tiles up to the edge of the bath. So I'm not going out beyond the bath. Some people have a little shelf. I don't have the room for that. I'm going to go flush with the side of the bath, and there's going to be a little sort of a landing here for dirty clothes or whatever people put there. It's probably going to be about that long at the end of the bath. And I'm just trying to, it's a really small bathroom. This house is 130 square meters, so I mean my house I come from was probably, I don't know, it's a lot bigger than that. It's a very small house. We're in 4-bedroom. We'll put a second toilet in. It's only got one shower, but you know, it's enough for two people. Plenty for two people, probably a lot more than most people have, so you know, we're grateful for that. But just showing you how this goes together. I'll explain how the top and bottom plates are marked out. So this is a handy tip you can use for any wall frame. Now I've actually flipped these around because the crown on the timber was the wrong way. So timber's got a little bit of a bow, so you should line up that bow. Lay all your timbers out first, figure out which way they twist. They usually twist a bit. Lay them all the same way and mark them out the same way, and then when you screw it in, you can screw it all back. It should all pull back into the wall anyway, but just get your timbers all laid out first before you mark it out, and that way your wall frame won't be all skew and all over the place. So what you basically do is you get the three timbers, you put them on top of each other like this, line them up. Now I've actually flipped this over, so I went from this end and basically you get all 3 timbers and you measure, well, 450 is the standard, 450 millimeters. You can see I've gone 420. So you mark out your line, you draw a line, and then put an X where you want the stud to land. You can see there that the stud lands on this side of that line. And then you do that well, I did 420, it's 450. Anything under 450 is fine. You can do 150 if you really want to waste all that timber. So basically, mark each one. Now the ends I didn't mark because you can do that by eye. You don't actually need to measure that, or maybe some guys do. I don't need to. So, and then basically you've got all 3 timbers stacked up like that. So I assume that's going the whole way along. You basically just trace that line down there and then mark out the face as well. So you end up with 3 timbers with those exact same markings on them, and then you just nail it all together from the bottom. I put 3 nails top and bottom, and then I'll probably screw this one because this is an outside facing frame. So if I end up felting it with a hammer or whatever, I don't want the thing to come apart. So I will, this is just sort of temporary, and then I'll probably screw it top and bottom. But yeah, you can use a framing nailer, you can use something a bit more heavy duty, and then you don't have to screw anything. Anyway, this is just a video on that I thought I'd share, because a lot of people don't know how to do this. I have a framing video that I did. It gets a lot of views, a lot of likes and stuff. People have no idea, and when I did that video I had no idea. Then I went and did the carpentry trade, and I learnt everything how it's all done properly. So this is how you should do it properly. Now there'll be a few carpenters will say you should be fucking doing this, whatever. This is going to be good enough for what I'm doing. You know, what I've said is Australian standards pretty much. The only thing I'm going to be changing is just the different type of nails, the way I'm waterproofing, only because I know how it's all going to work. So I'm not going to quite do Australian standards with the waterproofing, because basically the bath is the waterproofing for that area. So I'm just going to waterproof, you know, around the plug hole and where I'm putting a mortar bed. So the mortar bed has to go underneath, so the bath sits in the mortar bed and it dries. It's got a nice solid base. So I'll basically waterproof a cement sheet, put concrete on top of that, and then put the bathtub in, fill it with water, and let it dry overnight. That's how I'm going to do it. I don't know. I assume that's the best way to do it. Anyway, I'll show you a bit more another time. Thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe. I'm just showing you what it will look like one side finished. So that's what one side should look roughly like. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw it all together, and then I'm going to stick another stud there, nail it in. So I'll screw it together first. Screws go through there, and then I'll stick it all together. Pretty flimsy at the moment. It'll stiffen up once it's all together and screwed in place and everything. But so if you use a framing nail, there won't be as much like that. You still be able to bend it, but it won't be like this. It's a bit floppy, but it'll work for what I'm trying to do. So anyway, cheers.